Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name's Jenny Senaparatna. Grab your favorite drink, get yourself a snack, and we will get started. Today I have string cheese and I have thin Oreos that are double stuffed with milk. And right after this podcast, I will be drinking some Earl Grey. It is a 2 beverage and 2 snack kind of day. So let's get into it. Let's get real. I have been reading books this year at a much slower pace than normal. More because our schedule is really very busy. We have been speaking during the week. We have been speaking more than one time on the weekend. It has just been kind of a zoo. And I am loving it, but I feel like my reading has kind of slowed down. I have been reading one nonfiction a month because I love history. I know maybe you're not a history person, but I absolutely love history and the kings and, empires. And I just love those kind of things. So I have been trying to read nonfiction books. If you have any recommendations on documentaries or autobiographies or, any of that kind of stuff, send it my way because I just absolutely love that. I just finished David Livingston, and you know what? Wasn't super inspired. I have to be honest with you. I was like, yeah, he did not inspire me in many ways other than maybe spend more time with my family. I think was probably the main inspiration I got out of that book, because the man spent time in the African jungles and exploring it, and he did some really amazing things, but he was never with his family. So for me, that was the only inspiration I got out of that. But I just got done reading a book that I really cried when it ended, and I don't normally do that because I was so sad that it was over. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it because it has really kind of gotten into my heart. And it was called The Queen's Cook. And it's by Tessa, and I'm going to butcher her last name, but it is Afshar. And she does some of the most amazing books out there, at least when it comes to Christian fiction. I've read other books that are just as good in other areas, but she is, in my humble opinion, one of the best in Christian fiction. And she wrote this book about the time of Esther. And it is about Queen Esther in a new kind of way. Now, what I love about this is there is I don't know if it's a quote or if I just took it from there, that Queen Esther says to her cook in the midst of the journey that the cook is going on, because the cook is the main character. Esther is a side character. She is, a big deal, but she's really not in this book. The book is really about the metamorphosis of the cook and what happens in her life. But Queen Esther says something to her that has kind of just dug into my heart, and it has not let go. And what she says is, a door may open and you walk through it. That does not mean that the road afterwards is going to be easy. And I thought, wow, that is so the truth of Esther's life. The door opened for her to become queen, but that afterwards was not easy. The things that she had to walk through, and she was one of many of the wives, right? She wasn't the only wife. She was one of many wives. She was, as far as we know, she never had children, which is very difficult. She was of a different religious and a different ethnic and a different culture than the king was. So she had to learn all of the new things that were actually anti-cultural to what she grew up with. Just the backbiting and the politics that must have happened in that time period in the king's court. When you are a history buff and you look into the courts and you see what kind of craziness happened in king's courts, that's what she was walking through. It was not an easy thing. She didn't become queen and started like life was just perfect after that. It would have been a daily battle that you needed to figure out who you could trust and who was on your side, because people would get close to you for for the bad, wrong reasons. And people would betray you and all those kind of things that happen in that time period and in the time period of kings must have been really difficult. And I thought that was so interesting because it really kind of comes into my life. God opens doors in our lives and they look like, wow, this was a miracle. And most of the time they are a miracle, the going through the doors. And then you start walking into that situation or that opportunity and you're in a little ways and you're going, why is this such a mess? Why is this so difficult? Maybe I wasn't supposed to go through this door. Maybe this is maybe I pried the door open myself. Maybe this was not a God thing. Maybe you start really second guessing whether you should be there because it's gotten hard. And it was a reminder to me that, you know what? There is a reason that Psalms 23 talks about the valley and talks about the darkness in the valley, because we all walk through valleys, and that does not mean that we're not walking through the right doors. That just means it is part of life. That God never leaves us nor forsakes us, no matter what kind of situation we're in. And so often we second guess where we are because it's gotten hard. Because people say, oh, if you're in God's will, it should be easy. And I'm telling you right now from personal experience, that is not necessarily the truth. I will go back to the Lord and say, Lord, what did I do wrong? And he says, keep following me. Keep going. Keep coming after me. And I'm looking around going, but this isn't good. Like, this is a mess. This is hard. We've been traveling a lot this year in 2025. And yes, it is such a blessing. God is opening doors and we are walking through the doors that God opens. And it has been amazing. But I'm telling you, it is tough. It is really rough. I have said, maybe even on this podcast, it is really difficult for every single week to be a visitor. Every week, wherever we go, we are a visitor. Even if it's a church we've been to before, they're not our home church. They are not the people that I have spent hours and hours and hours of time investing in. We are a visitor at every church we go to. And by the time we leave, most of the time, I feel connected and I feel like I've made friends. But to know that those friends I won't see again for maybe 2 years. And so it is kind of a difficult season to walk through when we haven't been at our home church in 2025 yet. I believe we get there sometime in May. It's not easy. So this road that we're walking down right now, and we've walked through the door God opened, is not easy. But that does not mean that it's not in the center of God's will. And so I just wanted to come on and encourage you that even when a door opens, it doesn't mean that the road is going to be easy. Sometimes the work still has to be done, and it's going to be difficult, and there's going to be things that you're like, am I still going in the right way? This does not look right. And when you read through the Bible and you look at the different people in the Bible, like Esther, and you read things that kind of remind you of how God worked through Esther, and you were put on the throne for such a time as this, that is an amazing thing to think about. Like, you were put there for such a time as this, but that was not an easy challenge for her. That door was open, but it was full of almost death. It was full of people trying to deceive, people trying to destroy, and she had to navigate that one step at a time as she leaned on Jesus through that whole thing. And I just want you to know that when you look around on your path and you go, did I walk through the wrong door? You might not have. You might just be in the midst of needing to lean closer on God and know that He is your source. And that is what I'm learning in this time from me right now. Do I love what we do? Yes, I really do. I would not be anywhere else because I know this is where God has called us. But that does not mean it's easy and it's not glamorous. Let me tell you, it is not glamorous. I love when people are like, wow. And I'm like, no, really, it's not glamorous. I wish I could tell you that. Is it fulfilling and exactly where we need to be? Yes, but it is not glamorous. And I just wanted you to know that God will walk through it with you. That He will walk with you and He wants you to lean on Him when you're like, I am here for such a time as this, but I still need the Lord to get me through it. I still need His daily love, peace, and joy in my life. I still need His direction. Even though the door opened, I still need direction after that. That is not the end. That is the beginning of the adventure. The adventure continues as you plug into the Lord and seek His wisdom and guidance every day. Not just at the beginning, but every day. Well, that's all I have for you this week. I hope that you find encouragement as you walk through that open door and now you're going, now what? To just learn to lean on the Lord and find His guidance and wisdom in your life, whether it is through talking to someone else, through prayer, through the Bible, through a podcast like this. Continue to plug in to what God has for you. And trust me, it makes a difference. You can find me at Real Life with Jenny on Instagram, Facebook, and Be Real. You can also support this podcast. And several of you have, and I just so appreciate it. You have no idea. It just brings extreme encouragement to me. But you can do that at buymeacoffee.com/Real Life with Jenny. It's also in the notes. You can also find me at christconnection.cc/Jen. We are booking currently now in the fall and Christmas time. So if you are looking for a women's event or something like that, please reach out. You can do that at christconnection.cc/Jen. This week, I just hope that you find some inspiration, that you go and whether you're reading a book that really kind of brings the heart of God to you, or you're meeting with a friend over coffee, or you're diving into the Word of God, or even on Sunday mornings or Wednesday nights, I just pray that you will be able to lean on the Lord in the middle of the chaos. Even if you're in the valley right now and you're going, I don't see anything. I cannot see a foot in front of me. There is so much going on, Jen. You just do not understand. You're right. I may not understand, but the Lord is with you. His rod and His staff are there with you to comfort you and to take care of you and to give you guidance. And I pray that He becomes real to you in this week. You all have a great week.